Well, Nordstrom's stock surged after Donald Trump sent a single tweet. It came 6 days after the retailer announced it was cutting Ivanka Trump's fashion line. On Wednesday, he tweeted, "My daughter Ivanka has been treated so unfairly by Nordstrom. She's a great person, always pushing me to do the right thing. Terrible." That's my Trump intonation. In contrast to the market reaction to his past tweets about Boeing, Lockheed, GM, Toyota, Nordstrom's stock barely flinched at less than 1%, then jumped up, ending the day at more than 4%. That is unusual. Is this a stock trader's answer to a political protest? And are Nordstrom's actions a retailer's response to a political protest? Nordstrom says it's just business. It's based on bad performance, that it really dropped out at the end of 2016 for the Trump line. Anyway, it cuts and refreshes about 10% of its merchandise each season. Anyway, Ivanka was notified back in January. There, that's Nordstrom covering its bases. But the so-called grab your wallet boycott movement is taking some credit. It does not like the Trump family and wants to take aim at the family's wallet. Here's a list of top 10 companies. You can see them there at the top of a rather extensive Excel spreadsheet it's got. The top companies it wants to hit the Trumps. Nearly all at the top are companies carrying Ivanka Trump products. Here to discuss the political details of this retail atmosphere, and looking great while doing it, I might add, is Karen Agnes, Senior Fellow at the Independent Women's Forum. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, it's great to join you today.
What are your reactions to this phenomenon that's going on?
Oh, yeah, the boycotting and Nordstrom and all of this. Well, it's interesting, right? Like, stores get to decide what they want to buy and sell.
They get to decide.
At the same time, consumers have a voice as well. So they get to decide what stores they want to go to, what products they want to buy. And of course, like, if a line is not selling well, a store can pull it. But it doesn't seem to be what's going on here. And I guess one positive of all this is you can see that both sides get a voice and can speak out. In the Nordstrom's case, you see the boycott movement trying to get Ivanka Trump's line out of there. But then now you see there's a movement emerging of people cutting up their Nordstrom's credit cards. So only time will tell, but the businesses will suffer the consequences. And in America, businesses can succeed and fail, and they just have to suffer the consequences of their business decisions.
Do you think this shows, especially after the elections, when all of these companies, you know, you hear a Trump tweet, the company CEO has to come out with a smooth message afterward to smooth things over, or the CEOs of tech companies have to make a statement about the visa situation. These companies are scrambling to sort of put a lid on it. Do you think this is a social pressure situation, or that Nordstrom, these numbers are real?
There seems to be a lot of social pressure. I mean,
even if her line is not selling as successfully, actually cutting it, that seems a bit drastic, doesn't it?
And you got to think it's not just about Ivanka Trump here. I mean, she came out in January with an announcement that she was severing ties with the line. And so the people that are going to be affected by this are going to be the workers at the company. Same way LL Bean. The boycott movement.
Bean's number 4 on that list,
yes,
I believe.
They came out against Linda Bean because she'd given some personal donations. It wasn't even company donations, but personal donations in support of President Trump. And you think, okay, who's going to be hurt there? It's the workers in Maine. And so it's important to remember who this is really affecting.
You mean it's like protesters beating up a Starbucks, and Howard Schultz doesn't care, but the workers have to go there the next day, do? I see what you're saying there. What do you think about sort of the climate now with regard to Ivanka Trump as a woman being viewed as someone to beat down as the daughter of a president?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a bit of a sexist thing right now?
Well, the vitriol we see against conservative women, or even women who just don't toe the progressive party line, is amazing. And it's something I've experienced, and Ivanka Trump is now experiencing it. I mean, she's built herself up as a very successful businesswoman, an entrepreneur. She has a whole book out about how, coming out in May, about how women can balance work and family, and is really leading a women's empowerment movement. Yet because she didn't toe the left's party line and supported her father, which is no surprise, for president, they're trying to cut her down. If you look at the list, it's really interesting that stores that carry her line were higher up in the priority on the boycott list than even the Trump Hotel. Then
Trump Golf, Trump Hotel, Trump Wine. And you notice they didn't list Trump ties in there, because I know he's got a tie line out there, but it was all Ivanka Trump, because they know people buy those clothes. What does this say about the political landscape you face as a conservative woman going forward now? Because we're seeing levels of pressure that I don't think you or I or many of us have seen in a long time, where it's females pressuring other females to sort of think the same way, whether it's progressive or conservative or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a real problem in the women's movement. I mean, if we want to be treated as women, not just because of our sex, but because of our policy ideas and because we can be leaders too, then we have to be able to have those discussions. And we talk a lot about the Women's March. They cut out women. It was not a women's march. It was progressive women's march. They were not open to having all women there. And so I think that's a real problem, that if we want to be at the table as women and want to be speaking out, then we've got to be able to disagree and talk about different policy ideas. And in November, the American people had a choice. They could have voted for somebody that was very much a leader of the feminist movement and a leader of second-wave feminism, and instead chose someone who promoted free market solutions and, was promoting other ideas, focused not on enlarging the government, trying to get the government in the middle of employer-employee relationships like I think those on the left try to do.
Do you think that when it comes to professional women like yourself in this sort of political climate, it makes it easier or more difficult to climb up? Do you think there's a trend going that it's going to be harder to prove yourself because you're a conservative woman in business, in your line of work, or will it be, what are you expecting coming into this as a professional?
Well, I think the way the left talks about women's issue and women's advancement is often very detrimental to women. I think what we all really want, we all want women's equality. We all want men and women to pursue happiness and pursue what they want to do. But the messages like Hillary Clinton just came out at the Women's Makers Conference and said, the future is female. Well, no, the future shouldn't be female or male. It should be about women and men working together and being able to maximize opportunity and choices, trying to keep a smaller government so they really can maximize those options. So I think that line of thinking isn't helpful. And so it's important that women speak out and combat that.
So you talk about Ivanka Trump being a businesswoman, being a mother. What example are you wanting to see from someone who's the daughter of a president who at the convention, surprisingly for a lot of people, spoke out about the difficulty for working mothers? What are you hoping to see from her in this administration as far as leading that charge?
It's great to have a Republican administration talking about these issues.
Because, we haven't heard it a lot. Yeah,
it's just great to be thinking about them, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to see some free market solutions brought to the table. So it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all policies that people have been advocating on the left for years, but instead think about, okay, what can we do so that women can maximize, again, their opportunity and choices to pursue the lives that they want to do, instead of the government putting the thumb on the scale, towards one type of child care, or, you saw in Trump's proposal, it was not going to bias against stay-at-home moms. Oftentimes it's focused on institutional child care instead of stay-at-home moms. Let's give people the opportunity to make that choice, and so not institute policies that put the thumb on the scale for one or the other.
Do you see any resurgence of Ivanka Trump in our shopping aisles anytime soon? Because, TJ Maxx is on there, too. TJ Maxx is on the list, and they were told they were to pull Ivanka Trump merchandising, special merchandising units, still carry her line, but pull special merchandising units.
Well, I imagine for a lot of these businesses, the consumers speak. So we'll see. If people go out and buy a lot, then I imagine they'll find their way back into stores.
Are you going to go buy a lot or no? You're a fan of that line?
Well, you were telling me that their shoes are wonderful.
I tried on one pair of shoes. That's all I said. That's all I said. I was just wondering if you...
Yeah.
No?
So now I'll have to try some on.
Okay. Thank you very much, Karen Agnes, Senior Fellow at the Independent Women's Forum. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for now. Check out the show on YouTube, youtube.com/boom.